I'm here with T. Eric Monroe, a big legend of hip hop photograph, and today we're going to talk about his journey in hip hop.
Sounds good.
Can you please introduce yourself to
Yes.
people that don't know you?
Sure. I am T. Eric Monroe, a photographer, most known for my photography work during the 90s. I photographed, now looking back, it seems like a lot of the legends Biggie, Tupac, Big L, the Fugees, Wu Tang Clan members, just a lot of people. And I was very fortunate to photograph them during the 90s while they were just brand new acts coming out and getting the start in their career. I'm originally from New Jersey. I still live in New Jersey, but I'm very close to New York City, so I'm always here in New York, um, whether doing photography or promoting my photography work. It's a very close commute, so I love being in New York and meeting people all the time.
Cool. How you fell in love with hip hop?
How did I fall in love with hip hop? Hip hop. I'm trying to think of the right answer. Hip hop was always just a part of my childhood, if you would, in many ways. It was a part of the culture of everything that I was involved with because I came up skateboarding, hip hop, punk rock. It was all a part of my social soundtrack, if you would. Specifically, hip hop, I can understand more so than punk rock because I guess it was a cultural similarity that I understood. Even though a lot of the content of what the rappers were rapping about, I didn't experience, but the feeling of the music and the soulful nature, it connected with me in many ways. So that's what made me really love and enjoy hip hop because it was fun, it was exciting, it was a beautiful blend of all kinds of music producing wise to actually make the music bed of what the rappers were rapping over. So that's what I loved about it was like hearing the different sounds that the producers would use, whether it was jazz music, something from soul music or whatever it was. It was a big collaboration of beautiful sounds that created an inspirational sound that really I could feel.
Cool. And how you started the contact with the people that you admire to
So
photograph?
I got my start. I got my start doing photography. Initially, I used to photograph a lot of skateboarding, but back when I used to do photography, it was all on film. So it took a lot of film to actually capture one moment skateboarding. Where when I was able to get around musicians, it only took a few pictures in order for me to get just that one moment. So I initially started having my work published in Thrasher Skateboard magazine within the music section. So I'd photograph the artist and then write the interview to go along with it. And then from there, I just started networking here in New York City with the record labels and other smaller magazines that were coming up. And I was able to get my work in other publications. So it was consistently just trying to network my way into publications, working with record companies, having record companies call me and say, hey, there's music videos going on if you want to come by and photograph it, or this event. Like people would call you after a while to say, hey, this is going on, would you like to come photograph it? So I started finding out in that method. The other ways were just my network of people that I worked around, other photographers, other writers would always let you know what was going on. So I just make it an adventure and go show up, at whether it was a concert or a music video set or just anytime and anywhere I could get my foot in the door just to try. That's how I really got my start.
In that moment, were you aware that you were living rare hip hop moments?
No, for me, and no, I didn't realize the rarity of what it was because for me and my network of people or my friends, as I'd call them from back then, we were all brand new. We were just excited to be involved with it. We were excited to see our work in a magazine print or just to be a part of the environment. We didn't think of it from a historical perspective of we're documenting history, or I didn't have a perspective of understanding history at that young age, being in my early 20s. So I was very, I don't know what the right word is. I can't find the right word.
It was very natural.
Yes, very natural in many ways, but also just I was just happy to I was just having fun, and then I just captured it, tried to get my work in magazines or whoever would pick up the work, and the stuff that didn't work, I just put it in the filing cabinets, and then at the end of my photo career, as I call it, when I wasn't having fun anymore, I just left doing photography and went on to do marketing.
How do you feel about talking to people without words? But because that's photograph, right?
Yeah, yes, it actually is. I think, and I looking back at a lot of my work, I realized, and this was even before photographing skateboarding, I love to take pictures because capturing a moment, the way that I felt I captured moments, it allowed me to take that picture to be able to share with someone else, and the other person observing the image could get a whole story out of just looking at the images. So I think as I became more of a professional, that same mentality of looking at a scene or looking at a moment and knowing when to capture it, that it would allow for the storytelling ability. That's what stayed with me from when I was a little kid up until I became a professional in photography. Was the storytelling ability in one frame or one moment. Yes.
Cool. How do you think people in hip hop, like artists of media,
Yes.
feel about the documentation, the history?
They actually they love it. They appreciate the fact that you were there for the early part of their career. Even now, 25 to 30 years later, which I don't know how that's happened. It's
Wow,
crazy that
that's
many
a
years.
long time
Yes,
you've been
yes, yeah.
photographed.
So the artists themselves, they love it. They're so appreciative that you were there at the beginning of the career to capture them when they didn't have a name, they weren't famous, and that you held on to the work and you now show their work of them some 25 to 30 years later. It's in such a beautiful uh, fine art way, if you would.
Nowadays, the technology is like really fast,
Yes.
and everyone has like a cell phone or something to record. How do you feel hip hop changed the way it capture moments with technology? Like, you think artists still see the value in old photography, like
Yes.
old
Yeah.
style?
I think with modern technology, it's one of a few things. One thing, I'm grateful for modern technology because it allows us to connect and share and do things in an instant. But the older method of photography, we'll use that for an example, where you had to take a picture, then you had to wait until you saw it. So, from a skills perspective as a professional, you had to know exactly what you were doing because to capture that moment and calculate your light settings, and there's so many variables and calculations that go into taking a picture. You had to really know what you're doing. Versus nowadays, I feel anyone can just snap it and then adjust it within their phone or within the camera while they're looking at it. So it's changed in that respect. But I also feel the older method of photography with film, there's something physically different where a photograph on film, it feels different when you look at it versus a digital picture looks completely different than a film captured picture. I'll say it that way. There's more
Yes.
depth in film
It
photography.
reminds me that quote like every MC is a rapper, but not every rapper is an
Correct. That is correct.
MC.
Yes, that is correct.
Is
Yes,
that kind of talk?
yes. And even with the technology of the phone or whatever, I remember many years ago, before iPhones, or maybe iPhones were already out, but I had a BlackBerry, and someone was asking me, you know, now that you have this piece of technology in your hand, can you still capture a moment the way you did on film? And I said, absolutely, because my eye is trained to be able to capture a moment and know what I'm looking for. And I used my BlackBerry at the time, and I lined up four people that were sitting down, and I lined them up, and I knew I had enough good light, and they were looking at all. I know the composition was right, and sure enough, I snapped a picture with my BlackBerry, and I showed it to the people, and they were shocked that it was so beautiful. So it's not about the technology; it's about you as a person capturing and creating the actual moment to make it feel
Yeah.
special and look special.
It's like your eyes are really rare.
Yeah. They're trained, yes.
What are your inspirations in hip hop and photograph?
um, my inspiration in hip hop, I would have to say groups that I closely identify with. So groups like De La Soul or Tribe Called Quest, Most Def. But then on the extreme ends, which remind me more of the punk rock ends, would be groups like NWA or Onyx or Public Enemy, like very hard, like almost rock sounding. Those they're I guess polar opposites, but those are my influences mainly, if you would. Um, and then in terms of music, or just music in general, I mean, I like stuff that makes my brain sort of expand. So I love groups like Steely Dan, or I like a lot of yacht rock, which is like very Blue Eye Soul kind of stuff. But then I also love jazz. There's something about jazz, but I have to be in the mood for it, because jazz is just so different, and it's just beautiful to me. In terms of my photography influences, um, I don't really have any other. I mean, there's people that I admire, or my good friends, like for example Chimo Du, who was the photo editor at the Source before me.
Yeah.
Rest in peace. Um, he was a good friend of mine that I really respected his work.
Wow, cool.
Yeah,
Did you work together?
yeah. Well, like he was a photo editor at the Source before me, but we met initially in 1993. We were both photographing the large professor in Queens, and bumped into each other and introduced, and found out we were both from New Jersey. We had a lot of common, you know, a lot of things in common. So he like invited me to always stop by the Source, and it just that opened up to open up an opportunity for me just being there all the time. And then when he left, I filled his shoes for not say I filled his shoes. I did the same job as him for about a year, and then I just didn't care for it. But just to get back to your question, Chimo Du, incredible photographer. Um, Guys like B plus, or Brian Cross, who's another photographer from Los Angeles. We used to do, I think, rap pages, and he's done a lot of amazing photography work. Guys like Mike Miller, Mike Benaby here in New York, who photographed a lot of hip hop stuff. Yeah, there's just a lot of people who I met as I'm going through my journey in photography, because I didn't study. I tried to study photography, but I got too involved in actually doing it, and didn't never stayed in school, so I didn't have the parameters of a art history or photography history to learn from. I sort of just learned as I went through the motions of being a professional. But yeah, also just people who are very artistic, whether it's not necessarily in music or photography, just artistic people always inspire me, because they're creating from a place that can't be touched, and they're just sharing their creativity with others. Yeah.
If someone starts in photography right now, like they're dreaming about being a hip hop photographer, what could you say to these people?
um, just go for it. I think as a photographer, period, you don't have to just be in one area of doing photography. For me, when I was photographing a lot of the hip hop acts, I also photographed a lot of weddings. I photographed so many different things, just because I had the ability to take a picture that could be used for commercial purposes. So whether it was a wedding, commercial meaning for creating a business around it. So if you can take a picture, just take a picture. Like if you happen to take pictures of musicians, don't just say I can only take hip hop musicians. There's all kinds of musicians. Everyone needs pictures, professional pictures. So expand beyond hip hop. Like yes, do uh, if you are able to photographing just hip hop artists, if that's what you want to do, but expand your horizon or expand your ability, because there's so much more that you can adapt your ability to. And I don't know that there's enough money to be made in hip hop in the current moment, because even when I was doing photography of hip hop during the '90s, I didn't make much money from it. I didn't. So I had to do wedding photography, this photography, that, work temp jobs, do all kinds of things just to support the fun I was having in photographing hip hop. But look beyond hip hop. If you have the ability to take a quality picture, sure, take hip hop pictures, but also take pictures of everything else, because it'll open up your mind. So when you are photographing a hip hop artist, if you would, you're not going to photograph them just as a hip hop artist. You'll be able to see beyond them, see them more than just a hip hop artist. Like you could see them as some kind of beautiful whatever that they really are, but not just a hip hop. You you have to allow yourself to see more, so that way you're photographing, what you're sharing becomes so much more. That's my opinion on it.
Thank you.
Yes.
Do you ever think about make your own documentary?
Yes, I definitely do think about that, because uh, my life has been and is a very interesting life. Meaning that prior to getting involved in hip hop in terms of photography, prior to that, I was a skateboarder. Um, I was a skateboarder. Then I got into photography, and then after photography, I started an amateur skateboard league. That was one of the biggest amateur skateboard leagues in the Eastern United States. from that, I ended up doing a lot of event marketing. So I produced events for people like Tony Hawk, for big liquor brands, soda brand. I did a bunch of many things. Um, and then even beyond that, just the people that I worked around that became iconic, if you would. So for when I was doing the skateboarding events, I worked with the clothing designer Mark Echo with Echo Unlimited. So I did a lot of consulting with them, and that was a very interesting time in my life. When I worked at the Source, working around guys like
Wow,
Dave
you
Mays,
work at the
yeah, for one
source?
year as a photo editor.
Wow,
So that
cool.
section, those sections of my life were very interesting. And then when I was doing the amateur skateboard league, and all the kids that came up through my league that went on, some kids went on to be in the what do you call them, the X Games, if you would. But I saw them as little kids, and they went on to be successful adults as skateboarders. So there's been very interesting chapters in my life beyond just this one little area of hip hop photography. So there's definitely a lot of stories to tell in between, and then also how the intersections of culture always kept coming up in my life. That's what kept me going in terms of jobs or projects or marketing or just so many different interesting things that weren't just Eric wakes up and it's all about hip hop. No, my life it's so much more to life. That makes my life,
Okay.
especially looking back and saying I've worked with this person, or yeah, I know that person, or I did this with this but it wasn't just because of this little block of hip hop. Because I feel like being in and around New York and this environment and culture, if you allow yourself to become immersed in just culture and fun things, so many magical things can happen. And I look back at my life and all the different things that I've done, and I'm grateful for it because it's not a very typical life. Like being where I'm from, not too many people. I think there's a few people in the music that might have been in the music or entertainment industry. Having been able to work with guys like Mark Echo and so many different projects because of the Echo Unlimited family, working with Tony Hawk, working with all these people in the action sports industry, working with Activate. It's like so many amazing companies and projects I've worked on that weren't typical, and wasn't there was no roadmap to say if you do this, it's going to get this. It's always just being inspired to keep trying and doing. And so it would be an interesting look back at my life of all the things that I've experienced, people I've worked with throughout the years on so many different areas of life.
Cool. Can you tell us about your books, please?
Absolutely. So my current book is Rare and Unseen Moments of 90s Hip Hop Collector's Edition. And that is made from my first three books, Rare and Unseen Moments of 90s Hip Hop Volume 1, 2, and 3. So after I made those three volumes, I wanted to take those three books and put them all into one book. So what I did was I went to a printer I knew was a phenomenal printer, and I said to them, I want to make an art book using these three books, combining it into one. So I ended up making this high end art book that was I made only 100 copies of it. It was called the Gold Book. It had a gold foil cover. It's beautiful inside. It was absolutely beautiful. So that technically was my fourth book. But because that book was only available to 100 people, I sat down with one of my friends and said, I want to take this book, but I want to make it accessible to everyone. I want to redesign it. I want it to look beautiful. So my newest book, Rare and Unseen Moments of 90s Hip Hop Collector's Edition, which I shared with you earlier, that's my fifth book. But that's the
Mm-hmm.
one that's available to the general public. It's not only a limited copy. So it's made from the first three books. It also has more materials, more writing in it. The layout is absolutely beautiful. You can find it on any.com, like Amazon.com, Target, whoever.com. If you type in Rare Nancy Moments and 90s Hip Hop, it'll come up. So that's available worldwide.
Okay, thank you. Can you tell us how your process works? Like the hip hop people you photograph, they like direct you somehow, or you chose how you lead the photography?
So the majority of the pictures that I took were based on a few factors. So uh, some photographs were taken on music video sets. So whether it was on the actual music set or it was a side moment outside the music video, some of the opportunities were moments that were presented to me. So for example, the picture of Raekwon and Ghostface. Uh, that was during what they used to call press day, where they invited the independent press to get a half hour with the artist to photograph them or interview them. So within those uh, moments that are presented to you, for example, Raekwon and Ghostface, we went outside of the building that they were doing the interviews at, and I photographed us on in Times Square against this green wall, and I just I might have had 15 or 20 minutes with them outside. So for me, it was just working with them and watching their movement with each other and watching their friendship and camaraderie, if you would. And then in between them clowning around and everything, I had captured moments where it wasn't just the yo yo yo, like it wasn't just the hip hop poses, but it was the moments in between those moments where they were naturally themselves, and I was able to capture them because to me, capturing those moments of them being natural last speaks more volume because they're naturally being them versus just always the hard hip hop
It's
poses.
real,
Yeah,
right?
so a lot of my photos are very real moments where I wait, like, yeah, I'll let the people get it out of their system, like the typical poses. It's out of nervousness. But once they calm down and let their guard down, those are more vulnerable
They're
moments.
relaxed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and those moments speak volumes because you rarely get to see an artist, especially now we look back at them, legendary artists, where they're really relaxed and really allowing you to see them, their true nature, not necessarily the character name that they're or stage name that they're known by.
Can you tell us about your last exhibition? How the process was? How you chose the name?
Certainly. So the last gallery show that just went down, closed, I think about a week or two ago, was at Key Smith
I was
Gallery.
really sad I missed.
Yeah, it was four photographers. It was myself, Danny Hastings, Coy Soldier, and Eric Brumfield. And how it came together, Eric Brumfield knew the gallerist Keith Smith, and he reached out to all of us separately. And how it worked was golden refers to the golden age of hip hop during the 90s, which we all had photographs of. And then selection process was really up to us as photographers in terms of what we wanted to show it within the show. So I had a lot of the stuff already framed in storage. So what was on the walls of my work were stuff that I have that are highlighted, like Erica Badu, Lauryn Hill, Missy Elliott and Little Kim, Redman, Raekwon and Ghostface, Pun, and a few other people. So it was spread throughout the gallery, and it was sort of mixed up with everyone else's work, but it worked in a flow such that each photographer's work is different than the other photographers. So it was sort of mixed together around the entire gallery. So it gave you an inside look from, for example, Danny Hastings' work was a lot of album cover artwork. Coy Soldier's work was a lot of event photographies, whether it was concerts, it was at a meet and greet, like, so it gave you more of a paparazzi style look to it. Then you had my work, which is more rare moments of just unguarded stuff that you've never seen before, but it gave you a personal feel about the artist. And then Eric Brumfield's work was taken from working as a PA on music video sets, so it was completely different than everyone else's work. But overall, it gave you a very interesting perspective of hip hop during the 90s.
Well, I'm sad I wasn't there, but I'm glad for people that enjoy it.
Yes, I'm grateful for it, and hopefully in October, myself and Coy and a few other people are going to do another show at the Keith Smith Gallery.
Wow, you should be there.
Yes, October.
We shall be here too, but okay.
You never know, or maybe something in the universe will bring us all to Brazil. You never know.
Yeah, wow, that would be awesome.
Yes. I'm putting it out there, universe.
Yeah,
the work needs to go.
Well, we changed the scenario.
And the scenery.
Yeah, just to close the episode. But thank you so much for your time. You're such a nice person. We talked a lot before the interview.
Yes.
And I'm really glad I'm living a rare hip hop moment right now. I'm really, I don't know the word, but I'm happy. I'm happy and I feel honored to be with you. Thank you for your time, for your knowledge, and for everything.
I'm grateful grateful I had the time to share.
Thank you.
And I'm grateful to Instagram to allow people to meet from all over the world.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for that, and I'm grateful everything worked out for us to be able to finally meet up and talk and hang out for the afternoon. I appreciate your time as well.
Actually, I have to also thank the Hip Hop Museum because I know your work because of the both t-shirts that I bought in collab.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Of course, thank you.